Hey English 112, Miss Brewer here for your week 2 lecture video. So this week, guys, you are going to be looking into MLA. You guys are going to be looking into your last collection of poetry and participating in a discussion forum on that. You are also going to learn a little bit about MLA format and the expectations for that. So let me go ahead and jump right into this. So your MLA review PowerPoint, you guys should have learned about MLA and used it throughout English 111. Please go through this PowerPoint, review the expectations for MLA format and for formal academic writing before you complete the quiz, which is due on Thursday by 11:55 p.m. All right, so just to kind of quickly click through that so you guys understand where I'm coming from. For MLA format, you're going to write a literary analysis up in the upcoming week or two, and you're going to be analyzing the poetry that we've gone over these first 2 weeks. So you will write your paper in 12-point Times New Roman font because that's MLA format. It should be double spaced as MLA format. There should be a header at the top right of every page. The header should include your last name and the page number. That should also be in Times New Roman format, font. There should be an MLA heading on the first page only, and that is your name, the instructor's name, the course, and the date. The date format is day, month, year. It's really important that you guys do that. Your title should be centered. There's no bold, no italics, no quotation marks. It's just regular Times New Roman, okay? Don't underline it or anything like that. And if you ever have questions about format, you can always go to Purdue OWL. Your in-text citations for MLA format. Your in-text citations are based on your works cited page. So you complete your works cited page with your full citations, and what goes in the parentheses is the first word or couple of words from that citation. Often the first word is an author's last name. Sometimes there is more than one author, so that's why we say couple of words. You might have more than one author listed. If there's 3 or more, you use et al, which means and others. It's Latin, so you just list the first author et al, okay? And it would be like that in MLA format in the in-text citation and on the works cited page. So you use the first couple of words of the citation. If there is no author, then it would be the title of the work, the title of the article, the title of a web page, okay? And it would go in quotation marks if it's in quotation marks on the works cited page. So websites and journal articles, they all go in quotation marks. So in your parentheses, it would be in quotation marks as well. Other than that, there's no punctuation in your in-text citation. So if you're using an author's last name, it's just the author's last name and the page number. My example, Brewer 15, okay? If it is an article or a website, it would be the title in quotation marks, how to cite, and then the page number if there is a page number. If there is no page number, then you don't write the page number down, okay? But if you're using a journal article, there's usually a page number. In regard to citing poetry for the purposes of this class, if it is a written poem, then I do ask that you use the author's last name and then line number, lines 1 through 3 or something like that, or just line 15, okay? If it is a spoken word poem and it's a TED Talk, then you just need to use the author's last name. Unless you have 2 poems by the same author, then you need to look up how to cite a work by the same author, okay? If you have multiple works by the same author, you can find that information at Purdue OWL. So everything's not going to be handed to you. You do need to do a little bit of work on your own. Your works cited page should be in alphabetical order with a fully complete citation. You should be utilizing a hanging indentation, and it should remain double spaced. You're going to write a literary analysis in the upcoming week. You will be utilizing the poetry, and you will be utilizing the database and articles from the database. So I have provided you guys with lots of scholarly articles on the poets and the poems that we've been reading. You are required to read chapter 3 this week about slam poetry. So you will be required to use a slam poem in your literary analysis and to utilize chapter 3. If you then choose to use, let's say, Maya Angelou, then you can use either one of her articles or both of them, but you have to have, in addition to that chapter 3, two additional scholarly articles, okay? So 3 sources outside of the poetry. 3 poems, 3 sources, okay? This is important for your quiz, expectations for an academic paper. This is expectations for when you turn in a formal academic piece of writing. You should not be using personal pronouns. No me, no I, no you, no we, no our, none of that, okay? You should not be using contractions in formal academic writing. You should not directly address the reader. You should imagine a world, okay? You're implying that I should imagine, you imagine, okay? That's a direct address to the reader. We don't do that. You are only presenting research in your paper. It's not an opinion. You're presenting theme that you find in the poems, and you're backing up that analysis with the scholarly articles. Do not end your papers with in conclusion or in summary. It's just bad writing. Do not ask questions in your paper. You make statements. Spell out all numbers and under 100 and symbols. That's an MLA expectation. We'll talk about the rest of these things when we get into writing your paper, okay? So I'll come back to this later on when you guys are writing your paper. The beginning of that you'll need for your MLA review quiz, okay? So this week you're going to be reading, or not reading, you're going to be watching some spoken word poetry. Make sure you watch all of the assigned poems. The first 3, I think, are not embedded for some reason, but you need to watch Sarah Kay's TED Talk first. She talks about creating poetry and also shares some poems there. And then you have Clint Smith, 2 poems by him. He's my favorite spoken word poet. So yeah, definitely check those out. I want you to watch all of them, and then you will choose which ones you decide to respond to in the forum. But you do need to watch them all. Look for themes, look for social issues, okay, that they're talking about, because that's what we're going to be analyzing later on. Okay. So for part 1 of this week, that means Thursday's due dates, all right? You have an initial response that you need to get done. So you need to watch the poems, write your initial response. You can remember that your journal 4 is different than the initial response. They're 2 different questions. So you really do journal 4 first. Journal 4 is like a gut kind of a reaction to the poems, okay? So I'm going to choose to write about 2 poems, and I don't really need to do a whole lot of analysis for the journal. But for your initial response for the discussion forum, go back up and use the poetry discussion responses page and make sure you have a really flushed out analysis of the poems that you choose for the discussion board, okay? Make sure you're citing the poems, make sure that you are using proper grammar, make sure that you are meeting word count requirements, okay, for this discussion forum. So do Thursday, your quiz, journal 4, and your initial response to the discussion forum. And then we get into part 2 of our week. So this week, this part 2, you're going to go ahead and start. It moves very quickly, I know. You're going to go ahead and move right into writing your paper, okay? So by Sunday night, you will need to reply to 2 of your peers in the discussion forum, okay? And then what we're going to do is you're going to go ahead and start working on your literary analysis essay. So I'm opening up those assignment details right now. It says MLA Literary Analysis Essay. You guys are going to be writing an analysis of the literature, 1,000 to 1,250 words. You will discuss 3 poems that we have covered in this class. You are required to incorporate a spoken word poem because you have to use chapter 3 in your paper, okay? So pick 1 spoken word poem or 2, but make sure you use 1. You're also required to include at least 1 written poem, all right? So you can choose 2 written and 1 spoken word. You can choose 2 spoken word and 1 written, but make sure that you do it that way, okay? What you are analyzing is a common theme amongst these poems. So perhaps I'll choose to use both of Clint Smith's spoken word poems, where he's talking about raising a black son in America, right? And how that's different. That's definitely a timely conversation. And so I'm analyzing the theme. What theme is he talking about in that poem? And then I'm looking at maybe the dangers of silence and how does that relate to the same theme. And then I find a poem from the first 2 weeks that also relates to that. So maybe I can choose Maya Angelou or Langston Hughes or whatever, whichever one you want to choose to link. And I will write a thesis statement. My thesis statement is saying the theme that I'm identifying and the 3 poems that illustrate that theme. So if I was choosing Clint Smith's 2 poems and Langston Hughes's poem, I Look at the World, then I might write something to the effect of the theme of experiencing the world differently based on the color of one's skin is explored in Langston Hughes's I Look at the World and Clint Smith's poems, How to Raise a Black Son in America and The Dangers of Silence. Okay, that will be my theme, all right? And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna organize an outline where I'm going to discuss how each poem illustrates that theme. So Roman numeral 1 might be Langston Hughes's poem, and then I'm gonna analyze which lines address that theme, and I'm going to utilize my scholarly article to back up that analysis. So my A's and B's and my 1s and 2s are going to come from the poem itself and the scholarly article information, okay? And what I'm saying about that. And then Roman numeral 2 might be How to Raise a Black Son in America, and Roman numeral 3 might be The Dangers of Silence, okay? And for those 2, I may just I might use chapter 3 and then another scholarly article, because remember, you have to have 2 articles in addition to chapter 3, okay? And there are multiple scholarly articles on spoken word poetry. So what we're working on this week is the second part of this week that's due on Sunday is you will need to turn in a thesis and outline for your literary analysis paper. And I give you a template. Please use the template. I'm begging you to use it. Then it will be formatted correctly, and that's half your points right there, okay, for the assignment. Just in the header, take out MLA outline template, because it's not a template anymore, and put your last name for the page number. Make sure you put your information for the heading, okay? The title should be indicative of what your paper is about. It should not be MLA literary analysis paper, outline assignment, or it should not be the assignment title, okay? So back to my thesis, I might make my title something like looking at the world through the color of your skin, or something like that, okay? It's indicative of what my paper is about. So please do utilize that outline template, okay? You also, and that's the only thing that's due Sunday, except for also your attendance assignment will be due on Sunday as well, okay? And so for your attendance assignment, what I want you to do is I want you to go back to my syllabus, and I want, in your own words, for you to tell me what my late work policy is. For the whole course, okay? So include, what the late work policy is for regular assignments, for journal assignments, for major assignments, okay? In your own words. Don't copy and paste it. Write in your own words what the LATA policy is, okay? So due Thursday, you guys have the quiz, your initial response to the spoken word poems in your journal, and then due Sunday, you have your MLA formatted thesis and outline, your 2 responses to your peers in your forum, and your attendance assignment. If you guys have any questions, feel free to utilize my office hours or shoot me an email. I realize the course is moving quickly. You're almost halfway through already, so buckle down. It's a lot of work, but you can get it done. I will check in with you guys next week.